did you download Grammarly? Come on, man. Everyone's using it. If you want to ace this paper, then don't press submit. Grammarly helps you clean up your messy, confusing sentences to get your point across clearly. See how much more clear and confident you sound now? Thank you, future friend. No problem.
All right, what's up if anybody's watching? I recently completed OSCP, so I'm going to be taking a break from doing Hack the Box, and I wanted to kind of start digging into web app pen testing a little bit. So after getting the OSCP, the first thing I did was what I thought to be the first logical thing. I went on Google and said, what now? So from what I can tell on Google, kind of the next step, if you want to look really good as a pen tester, is to start focusing on web apps. Part of that being because web apps are so popular. It's such a I don't know how to say it. There are many more web applications than there are networks, I guess. So being a web app pen tester opens more opportunities than being like a network pen tester. Obviously, being able to do both is ideal, but I've always kind of been interested in web app pen testing anyway. So I had an idea for this video. I called it Go Hack Yourself, because what I'm going to try to do in this is hack myself. So I want to kind of had an idea where I would try to create things using Python, such as a simple login form of some kind that does like a SQL query, and then try to create a SQL injection and then exploit it and then mitigate it. So we're going to be using Python along with probably just a Maria database on the back end. And it's been a little while since I've had to do this. I have Ubuntu Budgie, I think is how you pronounce that. It's kind of a neat flavor of Ubuntu that has kind of like a Mac OS feel to it. So I was just giving it a shot, and it's the first clean VM that I have, so I'm just going to use that for this. You could easily follow along with any Debian-based Linux. Well, you could probably follow along anywhere you can get Python. Trying to connect to the wrong dang thing. But if you can get Python running and a SQL server, you should be able to follow along. Oh, invalid password. What's my password? All right, so Ubuntu Budgie or Bougie, I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say either of those. Ubuntu, I've heard a bunch of different ways to pronounce it. Linux, we're using Linux today. I thought I had XRDP installed on here. We're going to try that. I kind of like the full screen and the ability to copy and paste a little bit. I did just call it Budgie, okay. Oh, come on. Escape. And now that's not going to work because I've already... Oh, I broke it. Maybe it will work. Who knows? Never say never. Nope. You know what? For the most part, we're not going to need the GUI anyway. We'll just do it from terminal to start off with. And I'm going to open up a browser page because, like I said, it's been a while. So I'm going to make sure I'm doing this right. How to set up a SQL database. And I think we need apt search MariaDB. Maybe without the dash. MariaDB server. think this here is the one we're going to be after, MariaDB server 10.3. But let's double check. MariaDB. So we'll do sudo apt install MariaDB server 10.3. Type in our sudo password. Gonna get rid of this, and we're gonna find a decent article to pull over here. We'll pull it over in split screen, but I want to find a decent article here first. Setting up. All right, this might be a good one. Got some official documentation. That's always a good thing. Setting up MariaDB for testing for SQL Server users. Page contains links. We don't need to choose a version. We already did. This is for installing. We could have used Docker. That would have been a good idea. It's always good to learn some of the new technologies. I haven't really delved into Docker. I think I've ran like one thing in a container before, and it was horrible. Mainly because I rushed through it, didn't take the time to sit down and figure it out. But I hear containerizing or containerization has been for a while kind of a good thing to have a handle around. Syntax differences, I don't really care about those. Is there just like a quick start? Bootstrap your database, like install, reinstall, setting up for testing, setting up MariaDB for testing for SQL Server users. Oh, if you're coming from SQL Server, okay. Installing and upgrading MariaDB administration. We'll go all the way back to that and see if we can find something useful. There should be like what to do first. Where to download, binary packages, upgrade, downgrading, compiling, starting and stopping, performance and advanced configuration, system tables, configuring MariaDB with option files, environment variables. What the heck? I just want like a couple of quick commands. I think it's just like create DB or something here. System control status. I think we actually call it MySQL on here, maybe? Yeah, so the command is MySQL, but the service is MariaDB 10.3. So it's already running. I don't need to do anything. I think we need some configuration. We're not going to try to remotely access it, so we don't need to set that up. But if you did, I think that's in... I don't remember actually. It's some configuration file, but they explain it here in the documentation if you need to get to that. To create a new database, so we're going to try to log in quick. I think our user should work. No, okay. Is it MySQL and MySQL? Do we need to configure users? Maybe we need to search how to initialize MariaDB. MySQL install DB to invoke MySQL. Come on, I literally just want to get this running. Am I gonna have to go get a database engineering degree in order to do this? Here we go. Hello, Takanka the Savior. Takanka? Is that how you say that? Takanka the Savior. Hello, nice to meet you. Welcome to this glorious stream that's happening here. If you happen to know the command to initialize MariaDB, feel free to throw it in there. There's something we need to do, but I don't quite remember what it is. Whoa, don't. Why does it keep doing that? Lately, Google's been really screwing me over with this people have also searched for thing, because by the time I click, my click isn't registered, it loads and I click on one of those. We'll check this one out. Check that one out. Initialize. Okay, we install. Start installation. This is for Windows. Configure the database. First, install MariaDB as a service. Click next. Of course, in Windows, they go through and do it all for you. Ready to install. Complete the MariaDB. Finish. You know, if I don't figure this out in the next 10 minutes, I might come back to that and use that one. Here we go. Install MariaDB client, MariaDB server. Start, we already did, it's up and running. Well, let's check that out. Grep MySQL etc group. Indeed, we have one too. Initialize the database environment. Sudo MySQL. There it is. Install DB user equals MySQL. That's what we needed to do to initialize the database. I should be making a write-up of this. What am I thinking? This would be great to look back on and see how I did it. Awesome. I'm just seeing your comments now. Ooh, do you have a nickname? The Savior. I'm just going to call you the Savior. Thank you for your input there. I just saw it here now, but it's always good to have interaction. You know, I get stuck quite a bit, so it's cool to have some tips every once in a while. Oh, now that I'm done with the OSCP, I might have to start a new vault in Obsidian, and we'll call it web apps and Python, because that's what we're doing. We're working with web apps, we're simulating web apps using Python, and then we're gonna hack it, and that's what the Go Hack Yourself is. It should be a good time. I need to figure out where I'm going to save this. Put it on old reliable there. Go. All right. So far, I'm going to just do a quick little write-up, so I apologize if this is annoying at all. We're going to call this setup instructions, right? So for setup, we're going to install MariaDB server. Shell. That's going to be in bash. Sudo apt install MariaDB server. I should probably look up how to pronounce that. What if we type this? Apt search MariaDB server. Is that going to pull it up? Oh, we installed 10.3. Well, yeah, that looks like it's the same version. Meta package depending on the latest version. MariaDB database server binaries. I'm a bit confused. Maybe we needed to install the other one. They look the same. I think one just has the version name or the version number in the name. Yeah, we'll try it with this. If it doesn't work, we can come back to it and say this is why. For this write-up, though, I'm just going to say that that's what we used because I'm just going to write what I'm doing. If it fails, I can come back and see exactly what we did. Then we're going to initialize the database with this other command that we just entered. Sudo mysql install db user equals mysql. Cool. That's all done. The result of this step reveals the next task you must perform to configure the server. Oh well, I didn't pay attention to any of that. Please remember to set a password for the user. To do so, start the server, then issue the following commands. All right, MySQL admin, uroot password. New password is gonna. We'll just go easy here. Access denied. Interesting. Maybe we should try this command again and read it this time. All right, here's the secret sauce that we needed to pay attention to. Installation of system tables failed. Oh no. All right, we're gonna remove this. Apt remove MariaDB server 10.3. We're obviously doing something wrong here. We're gonna start over from scratch. We're going to use sudo apt install MariaDB server. Yes. Change our command in the write-up. And the next step after we do that, we're going to set a password, I think, here. Okay, that's all done. Now we're going to run our other command here. If I can get it to copy. It's taken quite a while. There must be something going wrong here. Examine the logs for more information. The problem could be conflicting information. It's still failing. The user is MySQL. What the heck's going on? Do we need them, or maybe we need the client as well? Maybe that's why it's failing. Cancel. Cancel. Stop it. I don't know what's going on, but it's not working. Let's read this more. Installation of system tables failed. Examine the logs. Let's check those logs. I'm gonna copy this here so that I don't lose it. Put it in my notes for a minute. And we'll give it a shot. Let's check out those logs. I don't have it. Oh my gosh. This is a new install, so nothing's set up yet. We'll get it working. Here we go. And we're going to check out those logs. We'll do less var lib MySQL. Examine the logs in that directory. Okay, let's see what's in there. Less dot log. There's no log files in there. Oh. I guess we'll just do this. That's not helpful at all. There are no log files, so varlib MySQL for more information. The problem could be conflicting information in an external myCNF file. Locate myCNF. All right, we have a couple different myCNF files. You can ignore these by doing... Oh, okay. We can select defaults file. Let's try that. So our command is going to be sudo MySQL install db defaults file equals yada yada myCNF. Could not open required defaults file. Program aborted. I'm not root. Why is it trying to go to root? Did I type it wrong? None of this works. It's broken. Oh, because I'm trying to run sudo. That's probably why it wasn't working. Let's try it without sudo. Nope. Let's try this one. Can only use the user switch if it's running as root. Can't create test file. One can only use the user switch if running as root. Alright. I guess sudo then. Alright, do we have it? Access denied. Access denied. MySQL admin, you root, password. Access denied for user. Well, what the heck is going on here? Let's just do it on Windows, I guess. Let's try it out. Install. We're gonna go to the downloads page if I don't already have it. Yeah, I don't have it yet. We'll get it installed. So we're not going to be using Ubuntu. We're going to be using Windows. It should work the same. I just tried to keep it in a VM because then I don't have to clean up after myself. But I do need to reformat my computer anyway. So let's just install it. We got a version. We got an architecture MSI package. Looks good, looks good. All right, we're gonna start our, okay, we'll get this started and then I'm gonna restart the write-up. Root, we need a root password. I'm gonna make it password so I don't forget what it is. Enable access from remote machines. Nope, we're not gonna need that. We're gonna stay local. UTF-8 as default character set. Nah, we'll skip it. Install as a service. Looks good to me. 3306 seems reasonable. Click install. All right. Oh, come on. One last thing. There we go. Setup. Install MariaDB. Done. Cool. Now we're going to use Visual Studio Code. And I got some work on here. I need to not show. So we're going to open a folder. We'll open a new folder. We'll put this one in here, in here. Yeah. Call this one. What's the first thing? First thing is going to be SQL injection. Yeah, we'll call it SQL injection. Seems reasonable. Okay, we got it opened. We don't have any files yet. We're going to create a file. We'll call it, I don't know, authentication.py. And the first thing we're going to need is a way to talk to our SQL server. Not MySQL, MariaDB. It's not working. I have a client now. Enter password. Password. Show tables. Well, show data bases. We're going to create a new database. I think it's just create database. Ah, you have an error. Let's see how to create a database, because we do need to do that. Create a MySQL database. We're connected. Is this the Linux instructions? No, this is on Windows. Okay. Okay, that's the new password. We already have that. We just did show databases. Here we go. We need the database name. That's all we were missing. Create database. We need to name it. So create database. We're going to call this one. I need to get more creative with names and stuff. I don't know what to call it. Oh, you called it out, the savior. You knew. I need a name. You already knew. What is that? 8 minutes. Oh, okay. A couple minutes ago. Good job. We're going to call the database. It's not that important, I guess. MyDB. And then we'll say use MyDB. And then create a table. Let's split screen this. We're going to call the table users. And the users are going to have a username. And it's going to be varchar. And we'll say up to 50 characters. They're also going to have a password. We'll make that varchar as well. We'll go up to 50 characters. And we probably should have put this first. Can I go back? I cannot. We'll put an ID in there as well. Some people are probably cringing right now seeing this be at the end. And we're going to make it the same as there. Unsigned, not null, auto, increment. And we forgot commas. It's going to puke all over me when I hit enter on this. Yep. So we have a chance to do it again. Create table users. And we're going to do the ID first this time. We'll even see if we can get away with less space in here. Int unsigned, not null, auto, increment, comma, name. Oh, we want username. And we're going to make that varchar 50, not null. And they're going to have a password. Varchar 50, not null. No comma needed here. And we'll do semicolon. Oh my goodness, incorrect table definition. There can only be one auto column. And it must be defined as a key. I like your speed of typing. Thank you. We're going to get this eventually. This is like my second or third rodeo with SQL. I've never actually gone in and had to create databases. I'm normally importing a database that was dumped. So this is a good experience, I think. So we need to have a primary key, and our primary key is going to be our ID. That's why it was mad at me. There we go. And let's see. Select star from users. Empty set. There's nothing in there. What is describe? Cool. It's everything that we just put in there. Let's add some users. Insert into users, and we're gonna say the fields. We don't need to put ID. It's gonna automatically do that. We need a username. We need a password and values. And we're gonna say a username. Let's go with good old admin, and we'll make the password something like super crazy. I'm just gonna randomly peck here. We'll make it that. And then let's add another user. We'll call him user. Let's go with user 1 in case we want more. And we'll have user 1 have the same password. It doesn't need to be. It can be whatever. In case you can't tell, I don't have a game plan. Make a okay, sounds good. We can do it. Insert into users. Username, password, values. Takanka. And obviously Takanka uses the password 1. You seem like that kind of person, Takanka. No, I'm just kidding. We have users. Next, we need to start our Python script. So to interact with the MariaDB, I don't really know, to be honest. There is a module I've used in the past. Let's see, SQL with Python. Just straight up MySQL connector. I want to say I use like PyCopG or something, or PyCop2. No, bro. That's a good password. SQL. I already did that. We'll say MariaDB. SQL. Did I just type DB? Did I type Python? I need to have Python in here as well. You know what? I need to go on GitHub and just see which module I've used before. Give me a minute. PyMySQL. PyMySQL. There it is. We're gonna keep the write up going. Install MariaDB, initialize. Well, we don't need to do that if we do it on Windows. We'll just skip that step. We'll say create database, create a users table, insert some users into the users table. And I think we already have it. Let's just do import PyMySQL as SQL. If I could spell, it might work. It does look like I need to install it. Okay. We'll do a new terminal. Maybe. I'm actually going to do a new virtual environment. Is it done yet? It's taking forever. So let's kind of look through this. I need a refresher. We're just going to be looking for like a simple SQL query that you'd see on some kind of authentication. So we could probably start writing this actually. We're going to say username equals input. To be honest, so I had this idea. I have no idea if this is even going to work. I'm going to try to do some SQL injection using Python to simulate whatever backend code would be running for authentication. We're gonna try it. I don't know if it's possible. Python might have some kind of like encoding or escaping or something that makes it not work, but we're gonna try. So we're done making the virtual environment. Now we need to activate it. And we'll go to lib, I think. No. That's not right. Is it in scripts? I think it might be in scripts. It is. We're going to use activate.ps1. pip3 install PyMySQL. And then we're gonna put a username. Well, we'll ask for input. Username password equals input password. We have PyMySQL. I thought it was installed. We're not using the virtual environment. There, now it exists. And now we have to initialize this. So I think there's some kind of weird way to initialize it. I don't remember. Connect to the database. Connection equals PyMySQL. Well, we just call it SQL. That'll be easier. Connect. We're going to say our host is localhost. Our user is MySQL, I think. And our password is password. The database is MariaDB. And I'm not too sure about all this cursor stuff. I'm just gonna skip that. I don't know what a cursor is. I think it's like this, how I'm moving around like this. That little thing is called a cursor, I think. And in the context of a database, I think it's like you kind of, I don't know, I imagine it as moving around in the cells of a spreadsheet on Excel, but that could be wrong. I have to read into it a little bit, I guess. Connection with connection dot cursor as cursor. We don't want to create a new one, but we do want to look for one. Read a single record. We're going to say our query is select. And we're going to make this simple at first. We're going to just try something that we believe to work. Select star from users. Simple as that. And then we're going to say cursor dot execute. And we'll say query webmaster at python.org. I don't think we need that part. Result equals cursor dot fetch 1. And then we're going to print result. I think we're going to have to change that to fetch all. Whoops. So what we've done, we're connecting to the database we just set up. Our database has 3 users, one of them being the savior's in there. So we have another person watching routine sadness. I have so much to learn and have no idea what's happening, but I can't stop watching. Yeah, we're just connecting to a database. So I stood up a MySQL or MariaDB. Just put a couple of records in a users table, and we're gonna create a little prompt here that asks for a username and password. We're emulating a login screen basically. So I want to learn web app pen testing, and I'm reading through the web app Hacker's Handbook, version 2. The first section is kind of about authentication and kind of breaking that. So I just have login pages in my head. We're going to do a username and password and see if we can use Python to do a SQL injection. Then we're going to learn about remediating against SQL injections. And that's kind of I write Python all the time. I figured if I could create the vulnerability and then remediate it in my own code, that might help the concept stick a little bit more. And if you want to learn Python, or if you know a little bit of Python and want to learn this stuff as well, this is a good way to do it, I think. So we're going to continue on. We'll see if this works. This should show us 3 records. Well, it's going to show us 1 because it's fetch 1. Username, we probably could have commented that part out. Access denied. Is that not the right username? We didn't use root, did we? Whoa. Host user password. Oh, we have root, I guess. We don't have a MySQL user. Why did I think we had MySQL user? Let's try this, see if that works any better. God, I need to comment that part out. We're not ready for it yet. Cursor object has no attribute execute. Spelling problems, maybe? There we go. We're going to comment this part out now. So I'm going to throw some comments in here. Ask for credentials. Connect to MySQL database. And then authenticate the user. Okay, let's try it again. We got our record back. Cool. So we're successfully pulling back one record. We have our database stood up. This is working. We have some code that's interacting with the database. So with blank, make it not run. I just started learning Python. Yes, so that's comments. The hash at the beginning of a line is a comment. You can do hashes at the end of a line. This is also a comment. I think there are other ways to do comments as well. No, maybe not. That might be just for C or some other language I'm thinking of. But typically, I don't know, if you get really good, well, not really good, if you get really far into Python and start following the style guides, I think it's actually recommended to document your code with doc strings instead of comments. So a lot of people will use comments. I use comments all the time. I usually write out the code that I'm going to do. I'll sit and think about it for a while and come up with a general flow and just write comments as like a pseudocode, something easy to follow, so that once I'm done planning it, I don't have to think about it anymore. I just have to translate the comments into code, and that makes the development a little bit quicker. But yeah, that's comments. Sorry, a little bit of side tangent there for you, but we're connected to the database. Let's see if we can do fetch all, if that's a thing. It is. We're gonna do fetch all, and we'll print the result. I have a feeling we're gonna get an array out of this, or a list in Python here. We didn't. It's like a tuple of tuples. So what's our login page gonna look like? We ask for a username. We ask for a password. So to authenticate a user, we would want to say select star from users, where username equals, and then we're going to use some fancy Python string formatting here. I'm going to use the username variable, and password equals another one, and we'll use the password variable. So this is going to pass our user input directly into the query string. This is bad. This is not how you're supposed to handle authentication. This is hopefully going to cause a SQL injection. That's what we're hoping. We'll find out. So now it's going to ask for my username and password. For username, we'll throw some spaces and stuff in here, make it all pretty. We're going to use admin. And the password, I should have made it something easier. Something failed horribly. I think I know what it is. We need quotes. And then we need some debugging as well. Let's double check that what we're submitting is actually what we think we're submitting. Cancel that. We're going to switch over to debug mode, and I don't need the left half anymore. I'm going to make this full screen. We got a whole lot of code now. Username, admin. I'm going to copy this password. The heck was the password? I lost it. Maybe we do need this back. Show databases. Use MariaDB. Select star from users. And we're actually just going to change the admin's password to admin. That's going to be easier to type. Let's see if I can figure that out. If I remember right, it's update. That might not be right. Update, where, let's say update password equals admin, where username equals admin. Is it supposed to be double quotes? Goodness. How to overwrite values. SQL cheat sheet. Oh, is it update? Did I type update? I did. Okay. This is an image, so you can't search anything. Update. Oh, set. I forgot the set keyword. Update table name users. Set password equal to admin where username equals admin. There we go. Now we'll type the password admin. Let's make sure our SQL query is what we think it is. Select star from users where username equals admin and password equals admin. We have one user that matches that. So hopefully it comes back with that single user. Look at that. The next thing to do is to try to do a SQL injection, I guess. So now, well, let's double check that it works. So let's provide some bunk creds. Admin, and we'll say not correct. And we'll turn off that breakpoint. We just want to see it come through. Nothing back. Okay. Then we'll say if result, if length of result is greater than 0, return true. We'll change this actually. We'll say print welcome, and then we'll use their username, which is going to be result 1, I think. Otherwise, print failed to log in, no user exists with those credentials. Oh, that's a good point. You could just use the username. Very good point. Tuple index out of range. Result. So we need to use 0 and then 1. Or, you know what? Let's take your advice here. Username. That was a good call. Not a bad idea. Oh, so the problem with that though is if we do a SQL injection here, it's not gonna be mimicking an actual, you know, web app. So I guess it would show like a reflection though. We could test some cross-site scripting or something like that with it too, but that then I would have to implement a whole front end for this. We're not gonna go that far with it, I don't think. We'll do it like this though. This should work for what we're doing. Admin, admin, welcome admin. And then let's try it again. Ooh, it didn't like it. Oh, I'm not closing my connections. Oh, yes I am. They're in with context. We're good. Admin, fake pass. Failed to log in. Perfect, it's working. Now let's try a SQL injection. So if our username is admin, what we want to do essentially is, here's our SQL statement. And it's not actually going to have these in it. This is just for Python's sake. Could have easily just used double quotes there. I think I might actually change that. We'll just make it easier to read. It's not letting me type double quotes anymore. You've used your quota. There we go. So this is our SQL query, and we want it to say username. We'll make it say admin or 1 = 1, right? With the end, and then this is to comment out the rest. So this all becomes a comment, and then this becomes our SQL query. I think you are missing some older chats. Oh yeah, I'm horrible at reading chat. Make ID the key. Takana user, no bro, huh? Too far back. If you want to be a good red teamer, you have to be a good blue teamer. So okay, we've covered that one. Got it. Thank you. Oh, shopping application with Python a long time ago. Now that I think about it, I think it is vulnerable to SQL injection. Oh, that would be interesting. Well, we don't know that for sure. We're not sure. You might not be able to do it. We'll figure it out. But yeah, if this works, possibly you might have created a SQL injection. That'd be crazy. So we need to add this chunk here. So essentially everything from this quote over is going to be our input. So we'll copy that. We'll paste it here. And I guess we'll see what happens. For our password, we can enter anything because it's going to end up in a comment. We probably don't want to enter the correct password though, just in case. And then I'm going to make a breakpoint right before we do the execute because I want to see what the query ends up looking like. I guess that would have been a quick way to figure this out. Ooh. What happened? So that ended up being our query. It looks correct. We have the comment there. I wonder if we're using the wrong comment, if we need to use a hash for this. The dash dash might be for a different language or a different spin on it. Yeah, it's getting mad about the dash dash, I think. So let's try it again. This time with just like a standard comment character. Like one that you would use in Python. We didn't get an error this time. Oh, we need a double quote because we're using double quotes now. And then we'll put the comment, not password. Check that out. So this should work. So this should return more than one result though, but it should still do welcome, but it's going to say username is going to end up being admin. No, it's going to be this whole string. It's going to be our injection string. I guess we'll find out. We'll see if it even works. I kind of hope this works. What did I do? What am I doing? I'm running it more than once. Shoot, I broke it. Sorry, all that suspense and then I freaking messed it up. What software are you using for this? What software am I using? I'm using MariaDB. I installed it on Windows. It's running as a service. And then I'm also using, yeah, VS Code for my IDE. Well, that was the wrong move. Then we'll add the double quotes in. This time I'm just going to copy this. No, I don't need to. If we get it in, not password. Looks good to me. No frickin' way. You guys, no way. SQL injections are possible with Python. That's really cool. Let's make it a little bit more real now. So, if length of result equals 1, then we'll say welcome result 0, and then 1 will be the username. Now let's try to get in this way, because now we need to pull back just one result. Use our hackers now. Yeah, exactly right. So we've been using double quote, first admin, and then double quote, and then actually I don't even think we need the admin there. We can just double quote, or 1 equals 1. Not password. And now this time it should fail. So this time it should tell us down here, failed to log in, because the results that we're pulling back, it should be more than one result. Yep, so it jumps down to the fail statement. But we could easily throw a limit on it. We'll do double quote or 1 equals 1. Limit 1. And then we could just leave that empty. There we go. Welcome admin. So we've limited 1 so that we can pop into this piece of code here. It welcomes me. The first record that comes back is who I am when I log in, which is admin. We've made a SQL injection. We made a vulnerable authentication pretty simply. I mean, it took a while to Jesus, I can't talk. I always use sleep first. Yeah, I usually sleep at the end of the night. What? You use sleep for everything? Sleep always works. Oh, okay. Like to test. Yeah. I mean, we could probably do that too, and we'd see it take some time. Let's say sleep 10. And then well, because what's that going to make it? It's going to make it where username equals sleep 10. So that won't actually trigger it to run. Where username equals nothing. I don't know if we can do that here. I'm not sure if you can use sleep on authentication. Maybe you can. Do you happen to know what the payload would be? Tell me what to type and I'll try it out. Because I can't think of how you would trigger sleep to work in the select statement like this. But I'm going to start looking up how to remediate it. Go ahead and send that if you want, and I'll type it in before I start changing the code. I think it would be kind of cool to track the code on GitHub so that I could look at it later and kind of see the evolution of the code. But that would take a lot of work because this is actually linked to my work account for GitHub, so I probably shouldn't, yeah, we'll just ignore that. I could put this in the write-up though. That'd be a good spot for it. And then Python. using PyMySQL, create a vulnerable authentication mechanism. It's going to be written in Python 3. Spacing is all janky, but whatever. And now we're going to go to OWASP. Ah. We have injection. I was looking at a very detailed, I don't remember. I think it was when I was doing the OSCP. I was looking at SQL injection mitigation. Probably this one here. Yeah, it was this page. Let's take a look at this. This seems good. I'll scroll in a little bit so you can read along with me. This article is focused on providing clear, simple, actionable guidance for preventing SQL injection flaws in your application. SQL injection attacks are unfortunately very common, and this is due to two factors: the significant prevalence of SQL injection vulnerabilities and the attractiveness of the target, i.e., the database typically contains all the interesting or critical data for your application. SQL injection flaws are introduced when software developers create dynamic database queries constructed. So that's what we did, right? A dynamic database query. We have a database query, select star from users where username equals, and it's dynamic because we're putting user input in there, right? This user input's going to change. It's dynamic. We don't know what it's going to be. You have to assume all data coming from your users is malicious. To avoid SQL injection flaws is simple. Developers need to either A, stop writing dynamic queries with string concatenation, which is what we did, right? This is like a special form of string concatenation using the Python formatted string. Or prevent user-supplied input, which contains malicious SQL, from affecting the logic of the executed query. This article provides a set of simple techniques for preventing SQL injection vulnerabilities by avoiding these two problems. These techniques can be used with practically any kind of programming language, even Python, with any type of database, even MariaDB. There are other types of databases like XML databases, which can have similar problems, for example, XPath and XQuery injection, and these techniques can be used to protect them as well. Primary defense. Option 1, use of prepared statements with parameterized queries. So I've been asked before in an interview, do you know what a SQL injection is? Do you know how to mitigate it? And thanks to TCM, right, Heath Adams, cyber mentor, there's no way I would have been able to answer that question, but I 1 or sleep 5. All right, we'll give that a shot. We'll see if that works. But I never would have been able to answer that question. I had no idea. But I heard Heath Adams say at one time, parameterized queries. And that was enough to get me to answer it. So just because you know the answer doesn't mean you understand it, right? I have no idea what parameterized queries are. I'm hoping to learn what they are. That's the whole reason behind doing this, right? I write some simple code, some kind of proof that, you know, this is a SQL injection, and then we can fix it up. We can mitigate it. And that's the whole idea behind pen testing anyway, right? You want to figure out, why is it broken? How can you make it better? And in order to communicate that to somebody else, you need to truly understand that yourself, right? So that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to truly understand it. I know that there are things like Juice Shop, damn vulnerable web app, stuff like that. I don't feel like I'm learning as much with that as I am with this. And this is pretty easy. We're at 25 lines of code right now. And I didn't realize SQL injections were possible. This one's a comment. 2 comments. We're at like 20 lines of code. This is so much fun, you guys. I hope you're as thrilled as I am. Let's try this. Select sleep. We'll try all of these. Sleep always works. We're going to try select sleep 10 or with a union select. So our username, select sleep 10. We'll try that first. That might actually work. Maybe not. Because it's going to check if they're equal, but will that trigger it to actually sleep? Error in syntax. Where username equals nothing. Oh, I think we need an or in there, possibly. Do we need an or? 1 or sleep 5. Let's try that. We'll try the 1 or sleep. I'm going to keep it at 10 though, because I don't know. I feel like 5, I won't know if it's sleeping or not. Maybe 1 or sleep 10. What's going on? Why doesn't it like me anymore? Select star from... Oh, I gotcha. That's my bad. One or sleep 10. Oh, look at that. That's asleep. That's asleep for sure. It's sleeping right now. That's pretty cool. I didn't know you could do that. It makes sense though. Because what are we sending it? Let's see if we can catch this before it gets to the end. Man, what is it? Sleeping for 10 minutes? What did I do? There we go. It came back finally. So what does our query look like? Where username equals 1 or sleep 10. Huh. Where username equals 1 or sleep 10. That's interesting. I'm not too sure why it gets processed that way. That doesn't make sense to me. Where username equals 1 or sleep 10. It's cool though. It works, right? You know SQL injection is possible because of it. That's a cool way to fuzz for it or to probe for it. It's tired, man. Let it sleep some more. Yeah, let it sleep some more. All right, let's work on mitigating. Let's see if we can put some parameterized queries in here and fix our authentication mechanism. Oh my gosh, look at that. We have an unsafe example right here, string query. Get parameter, customer name. Is this PHP? I don't know what this is. Is this Python? No, this isn't Python. Yeah, sleep is like the only way to do blinds, isn't it? I'm not sure. I think so. Defense option 1, prepared statements with parameterized queries. The use of prepared statements with variable binding, aka parameterized queries, is how all developers should first be taught how to write database queries. Well, cool, because I kind of had to teach myself how to write the queries, but let's learn the right way. They are simple to write and easier to understand than dynamic queries. I don't know. Maybe. Parameterized queries force the developer to first define all the SQL code and then pass in each parameter to the query later. This coding style allows the database to distinguish between code and data, regardless of what user input is supplied. Prepared statements ensure that an attacker is not able to change the intent of a query, even if SQL commands are inserted by an attacker. In the safe example below, if an attacker were to enter the user ID of Tom or 1 is 1, that's what we were doing, the parameterized query would not be vulnerable and would instead look for a username which literally matched the entire string, Tom or 1 equals 1. Okay. Maybe there's not a way to do this in Python. As you can see, we are using a placeholder for the salary and ID column. We need to supply values in placeholders before executing a query. Pass Python variables, placeholders position. When we execute the query, we need to pass the following 2 arguments: cursor, execute function, and run the query. So we're already doing that. Oh, no, we're not. I see. So we're going to pass it these 2 values. Oh, so here's how we fix it. Here's number 1 way to fix it. Sleep can check blinds. We have contentionals too. Yeah, contentionals. Little tip for you. Dash dash will always work when you want to comment something out in SQL. I don't know. I think it was failing. For just, maybe it's just because of Python, but if we do select star from users, and then we say select star from users, limit 1, and then we do like a dash dash here. I suppose we would need this here first. Oh, that is working. It was throwing an error when we tried to do it through our Python, wasn't it? So yeah, both work right now. I could have swore it threw an error when we tried it. I meant conditional. Oh, I gotcha. Let's try the comment again. Maybe we had a different syntax error that I was missing. Or 1 equals 1, colon dash dash. You have an error in your SQL syntax. I wonder if Python's like doing something janky to it. Does there need to be a space there? Oh, does there really need to be a space? Oh, it still doesn't like it without a space, or with a space even. It's mad. Who knows? It's just something weird. Maybe it's something with the module. Maybe it's the PyMySQL modules doing something. Who knows? But we know it works with the hash, so we'll just keep doing it with the hash. The next thing is to try the parameterized queries. So now instead of the username and password, we're going to put in just a %s. %s. And then we'll put the next %s. You know what? We're not going to do that yet. I just had a pretty decent idea, I think. So instead of typing this input in all the time, we're going to just have a couple of preloaded usernames here. Username, we'll do this SQL injection one, or 1 equals 1. And then we'll say admin. And I suppose we don't need that one. Password, we're just going to make it the correct password, which is admin. What am I doing? You guys, I'm so lost right now. So those are the correct credentials. These are the SQL injection credentials. And then we have, I suppose we need incorrect as well. Admin password equals password. And this actually needs to have limit 1 on it. So these are incorrect credentials. These are correct. And this is the SQL injection. Perfect. So then if we comment it out, I don't want to do it that way either though. can I turn this into a function? And then, yeah, I'll turn this into a function called authenticate. Let's do this part here. We'll say def authenticate. We're going to pass a username. We're going to pass a password. Oh, I'd be able to keep the code around too. This is a cool idea. Authenticate broken. Right? And then, did I spell password wrong? And then we're going to move our credentials down to the bottom. We're going to say authenticate broken. Username equals that. Password equals A. Authenticate broken. Username equals admin. Password equals password. Authenticate. Username equals admin. So we should get 3 results. With 4 different DBs too. Already closed. Oh, Nikes. I've had to deal with this before. It has to be 4 different connections? Is that what you're saying? 4 different database connections? Probably. There we go. So we're going to make it pass, pass, fail. We'll do real authentication. And then SQL injection. Regular. SQL injection. Failed. Oh. Yeah, I just tried with MariaDB and it worked fine. It's just not working through Python for some reason. Let's see. I'm going to change this to true or false. No, I want to do that. We'll leave it at that. But I do want to maybe just return that and then print it out later. We'll say result equals that. All right, regular works fine, welcome admin. SQL injection works fine, welcome admin. Failed to log in. No user exists with those credentials. Perfect. We'll copy all that. And we're going to make that our new first stage. This is the failed authentication mechanism. Now we're going to make another one. And I probably actually just want to call it authentication. Sorry guys, I know I'm adjusting this quite a bit. I just want it to be perfect, okay? Leave me alone. Okay, we've called it authenticate now. We have some tests in place. We're going to write a new function, which is just a copy of this one essentially. And then we'll call this one authenticate broken. This one is going to be the working one. We'll do the parameterized queries in here. %s, %s, %s. So that's our query. Our parameters, we probably don't need them here. And then how did we do this? Cursor execute. Cursor, 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 cursor. Execute query is going to be, oh, we just pass it also the tuple, which is going to have our username and our password. That was easy, you guys. Mitigating SQL injection, super easy. I did it in the wrong spot. Super easy, right? All right, now, the first one should pass, the second one should fail, and the third one should fail if it's working properly. Look at that, you guys. We mitigated SQL injection. We know how to use parameterized queries now, and it sounds very intimidating, but it's not at all. It's super simple. We're using a placeholder here, %s. That's all we're doing, and it's preventing us breaking this up and injecting code because we can't put quotations in there. It knows not to trust that. That's awesome. All right. I can see why that's the first way to learn, because it was super easy. There are 4 reasons to use. We can get rid of that now. I don't care about that one. We could use stored procedures next. I think this is going to be on the database, though. Stored procedures are not always safe from SQL injection. However, certain standard stored procedure programming constructs have the same effect as the use of parameterized queries when implemented safely, which is the norm for most stored procedure languages. They require the developer to just build SQL statements with parameters, which are automatically parameterized unless the developer does something largely out of the norm. The difference between prepared statements and stored procedures is that SQL code for a stored procedure is defined and stored in the database itself and then called out from the application. So I probably should do this. Man, stored procedures. Okay. I don't know. I don't think I want to do this.
That's not my business.
Okay, so here's something interesting. Stored procedures require execute rights, a role that is not available by default. So if we wanted to use stored procedures using our MySQL database, we would have to create a custom user or give one of the users custom permissions, possibly. And then the procedure is stored on the database. So yeah, I think we're going to skip over that one, stored procedures. We can always learn about that more later. I think the biggest one is just this parameterized queries. It's the first thing. I didn't think this was going to work, you guys. SQL injections in Python is like mind-blowing to me. So our next option, allow list input validation. Various parts of SQL queries aren't legal locations for the use of bind variables, such as the name of tables or columns, and the sort order indicator, ascending or descending. In such situations, input validation or query redesign is the most appropriate defense. For the names of tables or columns, ideally those values come from the code and not from the user parameters. But if user parameter values are used for targeting different table names and column names, then the parameter values should be mapped to legal expected table or column names to make sure unvalidated user input doesn't end up in the query. Please note, this is a symptom of poor design and a full rewrite should be considered if time allows it. Oh no. Oh my goodness. So I think what they're talking about here is if we had select was I'll leave it like this so you can see. Well, we'll do notepad. We'll open up a notepad. So select star from users. And we're doing where username equals username and password equals password. This is what we're working on right now. I think what they're talking about here is a case where something on the application requires input from the user, and then we would also supply somehow a table name from the user. And so they're saying not to allow the user to get to the users table, for example, only allow them to get to the assets table or the locations table or something like that, right? So that seems like an easy enough concept to understand. I'm not too sure how they would implement. I guess you could do input validation, right? So when you're asking your user for the table, you have a list of allowed values. But ideally, if you have the time, a full rewrite is in order. So we're going to skip that one. We'll just know it's bad. We read about it. That's enough. But although that's pretty cool, we should probably check out this cheat sheet someday. But I'm going to finish this up, you guys. I'm going to call it a night here pretty soon. Because to be honest, I didn't think this was going to work. It's been a long time since I've streamed. I haven't been on in a while because I've been so pigeonholed on the OSCP. I'm super glad to be done with that, by the way. It's nice to move on to something different. I feel like I'm actually studying again, or just like exploring again. You can exercise airbase SQL I2 with that code you wrote, the vulnerable one. Air-based. Yeah, I guess we could. Maybe. Would it be air-based? I'm just getting syntax errors. Give me a payload and I'll try it out. Defense option number 4, escaping all user supplied input. This technique should only be used as a last resort when none of the above are feasible. I can't think of an example where parameterized queries just wouldn't work. I feel like that would always work. Or even stored procedures. I mean, I feel like stored procedures not always safe from SQL injection. So stored procedures, I mean, seems like prepared statements or parameter. Is it the whole thing is prepared statements with parameterized queries? So this is our prepared statement, and these are our parameterized queries. No, that can't be right. I have no idea what it is. It seems like number one is the most easy to implement and safest option, though. That's probably why they put it as number one. Number 4, escaping all user-supplied input should only be used last resort when none of the above are feasible. Input validation is probably a better choice, that as this methodology is frail compared to other defenses, and we cannot guarantee it will prevent all SQL injections. This technique is to escape user input before putting it in a query. This is very database specific in its implementation. It's usually only recommended to retrofit legacy code when implementing input validation isn't cost effective. Applications built from scratch or applications running low risk tolerance should be built or rewritten using parameterized queries, stored procedures, or some kind of object relational mapper, ORM, that builds your queries for you. This technique works like this. Each DBMS supports one or more character escaping schemes. Specific to certain kinds of queries. If you then escape all user supplied input using the proper escaping scheme for the database you're using, the DBMS will not confuse that input with SQL code written by the developer, thus avoiding all possible SQL injection attempts. The OWASP Enterprise Security API is a free open source web application security control library that makes easier programmers, low risk applications, yada yada yada. If you want to build your own escaping routines, here are the escaping details for each of the databases we have developed SQL encoders for. SQL Server, Oracle, DB2. I think we're going to call it here. Ooh, we have another payload. All right, select if from information schema tables to Kanta. Okay, we're triggering an error with this. And we're going to have to switch back to the broken one. So I'll just say broken. And then we'll give it a try. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, missed a quote. Okay. We'll try it again. I never replaced the payload anyway. I'm still using the other one. All right, we're going to have to do single quote. I think we need the double quote to escape the field. Select if 1 equals 2. Select table name from information schema tables. Do some quote escaping. That doesn't look right. The F am I doing here? How's that? That should work, right? You have an error in your SQL syntax. Check the manual for corresponding MariaDB server. So yeah, if this was an authentication page, it would go through. This would be the stack trace that they would get out. You know, if there was like error output. So I don't know if we could actually error-based payload. I don't know if we could actually get anything valuable out of it other than just confirming that we have SQL injection. Does that sound right, the savior? If we use something like this, we need some error. Yeah, so the error I think that we would just get here is you have an error in your SQL syntax. And then it does tell us the query. We can get things out of it. I mean, I think just this enough alone, if you didn't already know. Oh wait, no, this is what we wrote in there. This is not a very robust web app. This is not even a web app. It's not a very robust app at all. With the condition we give it. Okay, what's a different condition? How can we get like would we be able to dump the users from this payload somehow? We could use a wildcard. All right, I got enough time for one more payload. If you want to write one up, I'll try one more. Otherwise, I'm going to call it a night, and I look forward to doing more of this. I'm glad this worked. I'd like to try to go through the whole OWASP top 10 this way and just kind of get an idea for what's going on. I'll give you a couple minutes, the savior. I know sometimes it's hard to just throw together a SQL injection, especially when you're being put on the spot like this. Thanks, I'm glad you joined. It's always good to have some interaction on here. Did you want to try one more, or are we calling it? Oh, okay. I figured as much. All right, well, I'm going to call it a night then. Thanks again for joining the Savior, Takanka. I'll learn how to say that someday. But you guys have a good night. Thanks for watching.